Welcome to the spectacular Sphere in Las Vegas. What a crazy setting for an NHL draft. Friday night, the fans saw it all. The big board gave you all the results. Mike Harrington here, along with Lance Lysowski, Sabres beat writer extraordinaire. And Lance, as we think of this first round, the Sabres ending up with Finnish center Konsta Helenius, a guy who Kevyn-Adams said could be on this club this season. What was your impression about the fact that he ended up dropping to them and they made the move quickly?
I understand fans' concerns, angst surrounding them even picking anybody in the first round. Right, I mean, I get it. You heard the general manager say the time is now. There's been a lot of talk about immediate upgrades, but they had a player fall to them who isn't some project that's 4 or 5 years away. And that's the typical thought we have with the NHL draft, right? Which is usually the case. But the player in question here reminds me a lot of Anton Lundell, who we just saw in the Stanley Cup final for the Florida Panthers. He only took 1 year in Finland after he was drafted by the Panthers because it was COVID. But he was ready for the NHL because, like Helenius, two-way game, strong enough to play, and he had already been a pro player in Finland. Helenius has been a pro since he was 16 years old. He had production this season that is historic for a player who was only 17 in that league. 36 points in 51 regular season games. He was a point-a-game player. And Mike, this wasn't a guy who was playing 9 or 10 minutes a game. In the regular season, he averaged 16-plus minutes. In the playoffs, he was playing over 18. Their last game of the season, elimination game, he was on the ice for almost 20 minutes, and he scored a goal. This is somebody that they're not committed to this, okay, this guy's in the NHL, but he's going to have an opportunity. He's under contract in Finland next year. So if they don't feel that he needs more time, he'll take more time and go back. But if not, Kevyn-Adams said they want to bring him over here as soon as possible, which is quite the statement.
And the one thing that caught my eye was Adams talking about how this is a winning player. That was his direct quote. Certainly based on playing a year and a half in the Finnish league. And when I asked Konsta Helenius about Finnish hockey, I asked him about Alexander Barkov winning a Stanley Cup this year. You could see how he lit up, so that was a big deal for Finnish hockey. And the one other question on Helenius I wanted to ask you is simply, where does Helenius now fit in with all these prospects, with guys like Noah Ostlund, Matt Savoy? The Sabres have a lot of guys up front, not a lot of centers necessarily, but it does potentially give them more flexibility.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you think about their pipeline was thin down the middle. I mean, Matt Savoy, as much as he was drafted as a center, Mike, he projects more as a winger, which is fine, right? I think that is his quickest pass to the NHL. And although Jere played center in Rochester and showed a lot of improvement this past season, also probably a winger in the National Hockey League. Yes. So bringing in somebody like Konsta Helenius gives Adams not only the opportunity to possibly move somebody like Noah Ostlund in a trade, but you can move somebody else in a trade. It just opens up more options and gives you a more pro-ready prospect that you could bring over now, more flexibility to make different trades, to move different players, because now they got to feel pretty good about their center depth longer term with Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, Helenius, and then you've got a few other guys who have that flex, that versatility, who can maybe slot in at that position. And as much as this is I think one of the knocks you heard about Helenius throughout this process was he doesn't have that high ceiling. A lot of people question whether he could be a first-line center, which honestly, Mike, reminds me of Anton Lundell and his draft year.
He doesn't need to be a first-line center.
He has a high floor. This is a guy that can play in that middle six who's going to be miserable to play against. He is physically pro-ready for North America, whether that be Rochester or Buffalo, whereas somebody like Noah Ostlund is a smaller player, Mike. Noah Ostlund, as talented as he is and how exceptional he is with skill, and he's very good defensively, he's 5'10" and 165 pounds. He's kind of rail thin, and it's going to be a couple of years, I would think, where he could be NHL ready.
Now, you had an interesting segue there, and let's wrap this up with a thought on the trade market. Kevyn-Adams was very clear that the quote was very aggressive in trades. No players moved in the first round tonight. Yeah. A bunch of draft pick trades. No NHL players moved. What was your reaction to what Kevin said and just the lack of movement in the trade market league-wide?
I found it interesting. He mentioned that he got offered a prospect for prospect trade, which makes me wonder if Rutger McGroarty, the Winnipeg Jets prospect at the University of Michigan, was offered to the Sabres in exchange for another prospect. That's not the type of trade the Sabres want to make, right? They want an NHL player. And as much as I believe Kevyn-Adams in his comments and his pursuit that he is being aggressive. The fans don't want to hear it. Let's be realistic. They want results. But you made a point on Thursday, which is a very sound one, which is these trades don't have to be done this week.
No.
This could be done Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
August 10th.
The likelihood of them moving that first-round pick for an NHL player was low to begin with. We see it every year. History tells us those types of trades do not happen very often. They have 2 picks in the second round. Those are very valuable weapons, Mike, that they could potentially use to add a player on Saturday. We'll wait and see.
The trade market is certainly going to be wide open. The Sabres have a bunch of picks, 2 in the second round Saturday. The draft continues 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time Saturday on the NHL Network if you want to check it out on TV. We'll be here at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and let me tell you, it is a spectacular setting.
We have nothing in our background. We tried to video out the Sphere to show everybody in the background, but
no way to do that with the cleanup crew already at work here tonight.
But hey, you can see the concourse is right there. It's pretty cool. If you haven't come, well, obviously, if you haven't come for any other event, check it out at some point. It's very cool. But I'm Lysowski. He's Mike Harrington. We'll see you Saturday.